From WSJ Tech Live, I'm your host, Josh Machiz, and I'm joined by Harry Moseley, the Global CIO at Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us, Harry.
Josh, privileged to be here. Wonderful to see you.
Always great to see you. So we live in the year of Zoom. How's that going?
It's humbling and it's a lot of fun and challenging, but it's all good. Supporting global enterprises like Nasdaq around the world, supporting governments around the world, helping leaders run their countries, and of course education. Educating our children is in 125,000 schools in 25 countries is it's just absolutely terrific. So yes,
truly incredible. So this year at Zoomtopia, you guys went around the world. Could you take us through a few of the biggest announcements at Zoomtopia?
Sure. How long do we have? I think this is like 10 minutes. So
there are so many things that were announced, but as many of the cool ones that you want to talk about.
I know. I'm joking with you. You have to understand I'm Irish, so that's part of that's just part of the personality that goes with me. No, so so a couple of things. One is definitely on Zoom.com. I mean, sort of with the global pandemic, the brick and mortar, so to speak, businesses had to pivot quickly to become virtual. So people doing yoga classes, painting classes, music classes, etc. Those things went viral, and a lot of people are struggling with how to do that. And so, and they went to the Zoom platform, and so we created on Zoom where you can create registration. We take care of all the billing. We take care of all the technology, so to speak. And you, as the business person with onzoom.com, can focus exclusively on your business. So that was one. Two is, the collaboration across the digital divide. So let me explain that. So in the past, sort of great companies around the world have created these great collaboration spaces, open office environments, no walls. Everybody could come in and collaborate, soft seating areas, eating areas, etc., huddle rooms, what have you. But then, in January, February, March of this year, everybody started working from, I was going to say from home, but it's not necessarily home, but working from anywhere other than the office. And so now you've got companies bringing people back into the office, where you've got 10 or 20% or 30% of the people back in the office, and you've got the remainder working from anywhere. How do you collaborate across this digital divide? And so that's a big focus for us. We introduced a variety of different things. One of them was the whiteboarding templates and the ability to whiteboard on the fly. And then, so Josh, you and I can whiteboard, and then we meet again next week. We can pull up the whiteboard that we had last week, virtually into the meeting and continue to collaborate on that whiteboard session, which is very cool.
It's so cool. I feel like whiteboarding is one of the things that everybody's been asking for so long. And it's one of those things that felt like it was only in the office, but it's so amazing that you're bringing it to Zoom.
Yeah, so we did that, and we announced digital smart cameras. So what's a smart camera? So, you and I, and 5 other people, if we were all on Zoom, then you'd have 7 tiles. If you and I are meeting and the 5 people are in a conference room, then in today's world, you'd have 3 tiles, 1 Harry, 1 Josh, 1 with the conference room, and you have 5 tiny little heads. With the digital cameras, what they will do is identify each of the individuals. So you and I would actually see 5 tiles like people are individually. And what does that do? That sort of normalizes the people. It gets rid of the hierarchy. It means that we who are distributed can interact with our colleagues in the office, in a one-on-one basis, much like we could in the virtual world. And then we announced Zaps. So these are sort of Zoom apps embedded into the Zoom platform. So let me explain. In today's world, you and I could jump on a Zoom meeting, and then I want to share some content. I bring up my application, and then I can share from Zoom into the application. That works very nicely. People do it millions of times every day. But the notion of being inside of Zoom and pulling up the agenda inside of Zoom, and then writing, we make the notation of the meeting inside of Zoom. We can set up the next meeting inside of Zoom. So you're not sort of leaving. It becomes much more of an integrated environment. And then we, customized SDK. So, you can take the power of Zoom, embedded into your proprietary applications. In fact, I was just talking to somebody this morning who's doing that in the online dating world, to take the Zoom application and embed it into their platform, and it's powered by Zoom. But you don't see Zoom anywhere. So you just see the application, you see the technology, you see the tool. So so lots of great things. We upgraded our E911 service on our Zoom phone platform, such that if somebody picks up, makes a 911 call from their office, it not just goes to the emergency service, but it also goes to the internal security organization that connects to our digital signage to guide emergency workers and advise people, etc. So, it's it's all super exciting.
So exciting. I mean, there are so many features. I feel like we could spend all day talking about the rollouts at Zoomtopia. Let's talk a little bit about security. You guys made so many upgrades this year that made Zoom so much safer. You eliminated the Zoom bombings, etc. What's coming up in the future, iterations of Zoom that are going to make it even more secure than it is today?
Yeah, so we made a commitment back in the spring that we were going to raise the bar around privacy and security, not just at Zoom, but for the industry as a whole. And so, and we did a lot of things earlier this year, which I'm sure the whole world has read about. But what we're most excited about right now, as I sit here today, is introducing our end-to-end encrypted service. We're rolling that out for technical evaluation starting this week. And this will enable people to set up a Zoom meeting, which is fully encrypted with AES 256 GCM, or an end-to-end encrypted service where the host of the meeting generates the encryption key and distributes it to the participants, so nobody else in the world will have access to that meeting unless they're a participant and invited. So, and you can toggle it on and toggle it off, and it's going to be super cool. We already had some very positive feedback from our beta clients, and so now we're going to the next generation.
I mean, end-to-end encryption is super amazing to have rolled out to Zoom, and I'm looking forward to playing with that feature too. So I also saw that you guys released a video on all the technology that you're rolling out across all of your Zoom products to make the return to office a little bit safer. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And when do you think people are going to be returning to offices?
Yeah, so, I referenced one of those data points on the emergency service. So yes, it's like, touchless. So Zoom has always been focused on seamless and frictionless experience. And so in the return to office, the idea of using your personal device to, access the environment, access the room, start a meeting, etc. So, trying to minimize touching, that's always been sort of part of our DNA. In terms of returning to the office, we at Zoom, we've, communicated to our employees that, we will review that the middle of next year, but until then, everybody is continuing to work from anywhere. And, sort of many companies around the world have said the same thing. They're going to wait until the middle of next year, or even I was reading, some companies are kind of like through the end of 2021, which is, quite fascinating. And then we're going to have a hybrid model. And, I do think, Josh, that the model of working from anywhere is here to stay for, two big reasons. One is, two big reasons, and both of them are myths of what I call myths of the past. So the myths of the past are people could not work from home effectively. People could not work from home productively. People could not work from home efficiently. It's all gone. People are very effective working from home. They're very efficient working from home. They've actually more productive working from home. There's some very interesting statistics that have come out around this model. It doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for every industry. It doesn't work for every culture. It does work for tens of millions of people around the world. It improves their work-life balance. They can be home with their pets. They can be home with their children. They can be home with, if they're taking care of parents and things of that nature. So it improves the work-life balance. Employees are really happy. Fascinating data point is that, so the January of this year, you had to request approval to work from home. October, you now have to request approval to work from the office. 180-degree reversal, boom, right? The other myth of the past is that, sort of from an employer perspective, was that we had to hire locally. We had to hire where our offices are. Employers now realize that's no longer true. They can be geographically agnostic as to where they hire people from, anywhere in the nation, anywhere in the world. Oh, and by the way, we don't have to relocate the people. We don't need to have those work permits. You can hire somebody from France. You can hire somebody from the UK. And as long as they can do the work and they have the right skills and the right experience, they can do it remotely. They can do it from their home. And
I think it's such a profound change because it allows us to hire the best people for these jobs, especially now, and to allow them to work from anywhere. I think probably the hardest trouble is really for the HR teams kind of figuring out if they don't already have employees in that area of the world, how they handle taxes and stuff like that. But other than that, it's opening us up to such a bigger talent pool.
So Josh, that's a great point. And it also introduces things like, great diversity in the workplace. Great diversity is part of your team. It introduces equality. It does all sorts of things. It makes everything flatter and more accessible to more people. And I think that's absolutely fantastic, personally.
Absolutely. So I know this year Zoom has found a number of ways to give back, from making K through 12 for free and some of your other philanthropic work. What has personally been the most impact for you during COVID to see what your company is doing to step up during the pandemic?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot in the community. We established our Zoom Cares program. Focus around education, equity and climate change. We just, did a major grant of 1.5 million in October with a matching gift to 6 organizations that promote educational equity. In the education sector, as we mentioned, we've given the service for free to 125,000 schools in over 25 countries. And we've trained over 35,000 educators on how to teach on Zoom for the school year, because it's not distance learning. It's one thing, distance learning. Distance learning is the students, but think about the teachers. It's like it's distance teaching. That's a whole different skill. You can't take what you were doing in the classroom with the 25 kids and just suddenly sort of stand in front of a camera and do the same thing. It's a different experience. And then climate change, we believe that, over the period January through September of this year, we've reduced 45 million metric tons of carbon emissions by enabling millions of people to work from anywhere during the pandemic. And then we do other things like TechSoup discounts. The stats over the period of July 19 to June 20 are more than 20,000 organizations worldwide received 50% discount on Zoom services. And 75% of those organizations have budgets of $1 million or less. And so we're supporting grassroots organizations. Eric Yuan, our CEO and founder, as well as the leadership team, have a strong belief in community giving back, and that's so it's so heartwarming and makes you realize that you're working for an amazing company.
Yes, you are. You guys are definitely working for a cause. Harry, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all the ways that Zoom has managed us all to stay connected this year. And we look forward to having you back sometime soon at the Nasdaq when things get a little bit back to normal.
Yes, but looking, Josh, it's a privilege to be here with you this morning. Thank you for hosting me, and do look forward to being in the future. I do hope you and your family and your colleagues are all well, and that you stay that way.
Thanks so much.